We're going to do a bit of a throwback of a movie I watched hundreds of times. I was obsessed with Miss Halle Berry and this movie. It's called Gothica. Dr. Miranda Gray is a psychiatrist at Woodward Penitentiary. One of the patients, Chloe, is embellishing her grape story again. Chloe was convicted of murdering her stepfather, who was taking advantage of her. However, she keeps telling Miranda that the devil visited and assaulted her again the night before, and it wasn't her stepfather. Penelope is really good at playing crazy. Miranda tells her concerns to Dr. Doug, her big-back husband and administrator of the facility. The obese black golem, Halle is literally doing community service, always paired up with ugly men in movies. She's worried that Chloe's medication is affecting her sense of reality. Apparently, Chloe has mentioned the devil attacking her for the third time in the past 3 months. Doug is not even concerned, as he believes his wife will handle the case perfectly. Then they really made our poor girl kiss that man. The riz is cut short when Dr. Pete Graham shows up. He also works there as a psychiatrist. When Doug says goodbye, he tells Pete to look after his wife. Pete has always liked Miranda, but because she's married, he keeps a safe distance from her. Later, the electricity goes out, interrupting Miranda's work on Chloe's file. Luckily, the head nurse, Irene, has it fixed right away. Before going home, Miranda decides to swim a few laps after a hard day's work. She greets the guard at the main door, Joe, and Joe advises her to drive safely. The rain is pouring hard, but lucky for her, Pete walks her to her car. They part ways and Miranda continues to drive home. The road is blocked because of a sinkhole, and the sheriff, Ryan, who is also Doug's best friend and who is also big-backed, tells Miranda to take a detour. Miranda phones Doug, but the line gets cut off as soon as she crosses the bridge. A white girl suddenly appears on the road, resulting in Miranda getting in a small accident. She gets out of the car and checks the girl. Suddenly, the stranger bursts into flames and grabs her face. When Miranda wakes up, she finds herself inside one of the cells in the penitentiary. She is treated like one of the patients, and Pete tells her that she was admitted after a series of violent seizures. She's been there for 3 days already. She asks to see her beluga whale, but Pete tells her to recall what happened. As Miranda recalls what happened Friday night, she remembers everything, including the girl and coming home to Doug. But Pete doesn't believe there was a girl, and he wanted her to focus on what happened at home. Miranda, being a doctor, can't stop analyzing her situation, and Pete advises her against it. Then he reveals that Doug is dead and that she killed him. Miranda can't believe it, and that she's being accused of double homicide since Doug is basically 2 people. Nurses have to be called to calm her down, and Pete assures her he's on her side. When Chloe sees Miranda, she teases and makes fun of her. She warns her to be careful because the devil will come for her soon. Then she drops a newspaper article at Miranda, detailing Doug's murder. Miranda continues to dream about her home with blood splattered on the wall. One night, she wakes up and sees the words, "Not alone," appearing on her doorsill. She tries convincing herself that it's just a wet dream. The next day, Irene brings her her medication and tells her to take a shower. At the shower room, Miranda starts to see the patients' faces as distorted before the blonde girl appears again. The girl attacks her, leaving bloody cuts on Miranda's arm. Later, Irene says Miranda cut herself when she wasn't looking. Another doctor even says Miranda probably used a scalpel. They also assume that Chloe has been threatening Miranda, so they put Chloe in isolation. Pete is aware that Miranda struggles with identifying reality from hallucinations, so he wants to increase her medication. When she asks him the truth about his feelings for her, he admits that he wanted to break Halle's berries so bad, but didn't do it because she was the boss's wife. However, he thought Miranda wanted to have an affair with him too. After hearing this, Miranda is convinced he's not the best person to be treating her. She asks Dr. Phil for a new doctor, but Phil says that Pete is the best one on his staff right now. When Miranda's attorney, Teddy, visits her, he says that the DA is pushing for a trial next week, and their best shot is for Miranda to plead temporary insanity. Miranda doesn't want to do it because she's certain she's right in the head. Then she realizes that not even Teddy believes she's innocent. Apparently, the evidence against her is overwhelming. When Sheriff Ryan requests to talk to her, Miranda agrees. Teddy advises her to be careful with what she discloses because the sheriff is Doug's best friend. Fatback Ryan gets overwhelmed with anger, and he shows Miranda the gruesome images of the murder scene. Her fingerprints are on the murder weapon, the walls, and the floor. Doug was also struck from the front, so he definitely saw his killer. Suddenly, Miranda's arm starts to bleed again, and when she removes the bandage, the words "not alone" are written on her skin. The same words were written in blood on the night of the murder. Miranda flips out, not understanding what's happening. Later, she starts to dream about what happened on that Friday night. She saw the blood, Doug looking in her direction, crossing the bridge, and meeting the blonde girl who burst into flames. When she sees Dr. Phil, she admits that she was there when Doug was murdered. But she adds that someone else was there with her. She just doesn't know who. Then she sees a photo of a familiar face. a blonde girl. Dr. Phil says that it was his daughter, Rachel Parsons, who died 4 years ago. Miranda refuses to believe it because she is sure that it was Rachel who stopped her at the bridge. Later that night, she asks Rachel to open her door cell to prove that her ghost is real. As soon as it opens, Miranda runs out. She runs away from Rachel's ghost. Then she grabs a screwdriver and breaks her way into Pete's office. Suddenly, the computer switches on and she sees a news article saying Rachel unalived herself. Camera footage pops up showing Rachel in the solitary area. Worried about Chloe, Miranda rushes to get there. She finds Chloe being assaulted in her cell by a man with a tattoo on his chest. She screams for help, but the nurses refuse to believe her. The next day, she tells Pete about the tattoo. She didn't see the man, only his chest. Pete says it's an anima sola, an image of a woman in purgatory. Then Miranda says Chloe was assaulted and that Rachel Parson didn't jump off a bridge. She is sure that the girl was beaten up when she saw her, but Pete doesn't believe her and warns that one more trouble and she'll be sent to solitary. This is a sad, sad reality in mental hospitals and prisons. The next time she sees Chloe, Miranda apologizes for not believing her before. Still, Chloe refuses to drop a name and says it was the devil who attacked her. Then she hugs Miranda and warns her that the man promised to come for her next. Later that night, Rachel appears in Miranda's cell and starts attacking her. The assault is violent, but in the perspective of the guards, Miranda is trying to unalive herself. They rush to her cell only to find her on the floor. Then Miranda jumps and grabs Irene's keys. She runs around the facility looking for a way out. All the guards are alerted, so Miranda hides underwater in the pool. Rachel follows her there. Shocked, she jumps out and starts running again. Joe sees her but helps her hide from the guards. He even hands her his car keys. Miranda drives as fast as she can away from the penitentiary, but Rachel follows her in the car. Suddenly, the brake fails and she almost gets crushed by a truck. After the ordeal, she realizes that Rachel was trying to stop her from falling into a sinkhole larger than my stretched-out Oz. Miranda returns home, and the lights switch on as soon as she arrives. Inside, she follows the trail of blood upstairs and begins to remember the fat arse dragging himself and begging for his life. But Miranda only said, "I love you," and proceeded to hack him to death. The words "not alone" are written on the bedroom door. After the murder, Miranda took a bath to remove the blood on her. Then Rachel's ghost finally left her body, and she becomes black again. Miranda doesn't understand why Rachel chose her. While she cries over Doug's death, a drop of blood falls on the shed in the photo. It's the one in Willow Creek. So early morning the next day, Miranda arrives at Doug's farm in Willow Creek. She checks the shed and is about to leave when she notices a box of a digital camera. Then she opens the trap door that leads to the basement. There, she stumbles on a complete recording setup with a video camera directed at the bed. There are multiple vials of drugs to sedate the victims, presumably taken from the facility. Chains and shackles are tied to the bedposts, and the sheets are stained with blood. She's horrified when she sees a video of Doug strangling a woman in bed. He faces the camera, brags that he's God, and then says, "I love you." That ruckus-looking man wasn't satisfied with the beautiful Halle. This is a black struggle love story if I ever saw one. To Miranda's surprise, someone arrives. A patrolman points a gun at her, telling her to drop the knife, but Miranda refuses to. Then a bloodied woman grabs her from behind, terrifying them both. The woman who asked for help is Tracy Severs, and she was reported missing. Worried that there were more victims, the FBI wants to take over. Pete wants Miranda back at the hospital, but the sheriff insists she has to stay until they get answers from her. Phil talks to Miranda, and both are convinced Doug also killed Rachel. Phil reveals that after Rachel died, he kept dreaming of her burning. Miranda is surprised that both of them saw the same thing. She comes up with a realization and phones Pete right away. She says that the man sexually assaulting prisoners was working with Doug. There were 2 killers, and one of them had the burning woman tattooed on his chest. But Pete doesn't believe her and advises her to stop acting crazy again. Disappointed, Miranda decides to wait for Ryan to tell him what she knows. Meanwhile, Pete goes online to learn more about the anima sola tattoos. When Ryan arrives, Miranda tells her about the 2 killers and the tattoo. Ryan is surprised to know that Miranda already told it to Pete. Then Ryan assumes that Doug must have confessed because there is no way that a ghost is helping Miranda. He asks her what kind of killer they are looking for. Miranda, being a psychiatrist, explains that the killer grew up in a fatherless home, developed a sexual attraction for his mother, and is confused with his sexuality. He also has to know Doug and have access to the prison facility. Miranda realizes that Ryan fits the description perfectly, but it's too late because he grabs Miranda, so she rips his shirt and finds the tattoo with his fat tits. He tries to sedate Miranda, but the flickering of lights distracts him. He even accidentally shoots a pipe, causing a gas leak at the station. He finally drops the act and admits that Doug first killed someone when he was only 15 and that he helped him bury the body. They stopped for a long time but continued doing it when they saw Rachel. While he chases Miranda, Rachel's ghost appears. Ryan pulls the trigger and his body quickly catches fire. Miranda then takes the chance and shoots the beluga dead. It's already over by the time Pete arrives. A year after that, both Miranda and Chloe are doing better. They have formed a very strong bond and are now close friends. Miranda says Chloe taught her how to listen. After saying goodbye to Chloe, Miranda sees a young boy in the middle of the road. But when a truck passes by, she realizes it's just another ghost asking her for help. Okay, Ghost Whisperer, we need a series. And what's the moral of the story? Never ever marry a type 2 diabetic man. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.